And it was 7 in the morning. So what I'm going to do, let me be a hero, let me take out the bike. So I went to the kind of bank, and it was very close. I was almost able to touch the bike, but it was very steep, and it was with the concrete stones, and then I slipped into the water. Okay, 7 in the morning is very cold. The bike immediately drifted with the water stream, and I was 7 in the morning. And the best part is I cannot go up there because I'm slippery, I'm completely wet. So, high bar. And as I want to go up, I'm pulling myself, but because it's very slippery, I'm falling back into the water again and again. So I was just kind of thinking, well, what a morning. And of course, I stretched my knees like anything. This is kind of reddish and pinkish and blood, everything. So I cannot sit like that, it's too painful. But it's my responsibility, so I'm not blaming anyone except myself. And that will be my talk today. We will speak a little bit about responsibility. I just continue a little bit about the same. We spoke maybe 1 month ago, something like that, right? And yeah, I just realized, then speaking, I realized it's such a huge topic, an enormous topic of responsibility. But many other topics are connected with responsibility. And in fact, its weight is in a life philosophy, and each of us is having own understanding how do we carry out our own responsibility. And it's good to know it because one of the foundational aspects of philosophy, responsibility, is connected with everyone's life. In fact, every scripture, spiritual scripture, is speaking about that, responsibility. So we'll touch upon that, and I don't know how it's going to be, meaning what we will say or not. I have some idea, but you will definitely be welcome to comment and to object or question, and then hopefully we'll learn something, and that way we will be able to help ourselves and others. Hopefully that my English is fine with you. I know some of you are native French. Vous êtes bien? Comme ça? Okay, should I speak a little bit slower? Comme ça. Je peux parler français, mais c'est très simplistique. Mais, okay, we will sing Jarada Madala. That's one song we usually sing before every program. 5 minutes, then we are going to speak from, I guess we'll take Bhagavad Gita. Jaya Radha Madhava Kuncharitari Jaya
Krishna
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, good to see you all and be with all of you. Now is 2:15 and we are going to speak for how long? There's a start like 30 minutes with the question and answers?
50, 45.
Up to 3, huh? We have 45 minutes, so we have plenty of time, and I will make sure you're not feeling bored. If you are bored, then it's my problem, so I will kind of check up on you. Yes, we were speaking about this topic of responsibility 4 weeks ago, and I know a number of you were around. It's actually Gopal was there for sure, and Nadia, right? And also, your name is Susanna. You were also around. Mr. was also around. You were. Okay, minus. You're for the first time?
Yes.
Okay, welcome. You're from Brussels, right?
Near Brussels.
So here we are. And Amir is for the first time. Ah, bienvenue. Yeah, okay, so we are going to speak something about responsibility. And well, that was something which, interesting enough, came to me a few weeks ago as a topic. And I was, last time when I've been here, I explained to guests why did I come with that topic and what does it mean in effect. It was about just one incident which I witnessed, or kind of we all witnessed, my friends, and I was shocked with the reaction to the particular event. How each of us is having different responsibility towards a particular situation. And I was shocked because some of my friends said it's not my responsibility. I was thinking, no, it's not my responsibility, it's kind of wash your hands and go away. Although we were all kind of semi-directly involved in a particular very unpleasant situation. So I was thinking about that's really a deep topic, responsibility, and as more I started to read or kind of try to connect or listen to lectures and presentation on topic of spiritual responsibility, I tried to grasp something from the ancient philosophy, Greek philosophy. It came out that, of course, from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, it came out that the topic of responsibility is so deep, it has so many layers, and it's one of the fundamental topic which we can encounter even in the Gaudiya scriptures. And can you, this is just for you, now we'll see where is Bhagavad Gita, if you have it here, we have it. How would you, Bhagavad Gita as it is, it's here. What would you say, those of you who study Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but also we can draw from other philosophies and traditions, how would you place the question of responsibility? How is that weighed into Bhagavad Gita? How is it weighed into the Srimad Bhagavatam? Or how is it weighed in, if you're familiar with Bible? I'm not so familiar with the Quran, so I cannot say anything, but from those few scriptures I told you, how would you weigh, where is their topic of responsibility? Is it obvious, or what's my responsibility? Is there anything, can you kind of recall anything from Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam? Responsibility. Oh, I'm so happy you don't have an answer immediately, so let us think about it. And how do we deal with responsibility? What does it mean? Shastric, very Shastric, for instance. That's interesting, Because responsibility indeed, I would say like this, Bhagavad Gita, we will go to Bhagavatam, we can also go to the Bible. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is with Krishna on the battlefield, and he is supposed, as a warrior, to fight. And in fact, although not explicitly said, but Arjuna is facing with the question of responsibility. Am I going to act if I'm going to take my sword or arrows and start to fight? But I'm going to be implicated with the sin. How can I kill my nephews, my seniors, my gurus, my grandfathers? So that's explicitly said by Arjuna. But also on many other places in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is pointing out to Arjuna, which we can also understand that question of Arjuna, the main protagonist of Bhagavad Gita, it's also our question. What's happening with Arjuna? Arjuna wants to figure out how should I act and to which extent I'm responsible. And Arjuna said, I'm not going to be involved in anything. He said, I'm going to go to the forest. I just cannot be responsible. And he said, I cannot be responsible for sin incurred. I cannot be responsible for the kill family members. I cannot be responsible for the ladies which are going to be abandoned alone and they are going to be abused by the reckless man, and it's going to be produced Varna Sankara, unwanted population. So Arjuna said, I'm not going to fight. And then, then in fact, Bhagavad Gita is kind of framed, and then Krishna is stepping forward and explaining to Arjuna karma, bhakti, jnana yoga, bhakti ultimately. And what Krishna is saying at the end of Bhagavad Gita, last verse, or maybe one of the last verses, he said, okay, now, what I told you, you deliver upon that and do as you like, as you want. So interesting enough, what Krishna, Bhagavan, Supreme, is saying to Arjuna, look, you have knowledge now, I gave you how to act, but it's up to you. You are responsible how you are going to handle it and what you are going to do it. And ultimately, that's the story of each of us. We are having, that's very deep, profound meaning and elaboration of Krishna, but also we will come to Bhagavatam, that we are having free will, which is very connected with the responsibility. And as much free will we have, as much responsibility we have. So, by receiving the knowledge, we are getting the free will. We can decide how we are going to act, but in the same time, we are carrying on responsibility. Welcome. Hare Krishna. So that's very deeply in Bhagavad Gita, but also if you open Srimad Bhagavatam is ultimately the main Gaudiya Vaishnava scripture. And Srimad Bhagavatam is in fact full of that interaction and question, what's my responsibility? What should I do? And that's of course connected with Dharma. What I'm supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do. In fact, as we can see in Bhagavatam, and also Bhagavad Gita, the main question is there. What should I do responsible? How should I be responsible? That's so deeply present. And all the Pandavas, everyone is dealing with the same question. How to do it in a proper way? Am I responsible? And every single individual is responding on different way. That's interesting enough. Yudhishthir, those of you who know Bhagavatam, Yudhishthir couldn't handle a Kurukshetra war. After that, he always felt responsible. I'm responsible. He was always devastated, very sad. Others took it differently. Duryodhana, who was on another side, he said, it's not my responsibility. So he neglected his role at all in life. And that's what we can see then in our own life, how the question of responsibility is differently taken in different way. And that's hugely important to understand for us as a spiritualist, how that played a role. But one thing is super important and very connected with that responsibility. And that's something which we should always ponder upon. That's the question of free will. Without free will, there is no responsibility. If you don't have choice, what you are going to do in life, if you don't have that freedom which we are so deeply eager to grab and have, without free will there is no responsibility. So, do we have responsibility, and to which extent we have responsibility in our life? Can you guess? How much free will do we have in life? Full? What does it mean full? Sakshi Gopal Prabhu. What does it mean full is really...
You can act within the law or outside the law as you like, and then we will be responsible of our acts.
Okay,
So
Sakshi Gopal
we
said it.
will, that's why responsibility comes with free will. So we have 100% free will, either to come here or to go to run for 20 kilometers in Brussels.
As today is the day. I was so surprised. I'm also a runner. Jogger.
So it's a choice. We have the free will to do.
We have a free will, Sakshi Gopal is saying, but from where that free will is coming? How do we have each of us same amount free will? Or some of us are having maybe more free will and some less, depending on the species of life.
Yeah.
What do you say on that?
Yeah, like in human form of life, you have more free will compared to the animals, because animals are more strictly bound by the laws of the nature, so they cannot act out of that. So we don't generally see an animal acting out of his own will quite differently.
That animal stops things and say, no, I will not do so. Yeah, that's for sure. But for the spiritual, let's thank you. But also, what about human form of life? Because you are now saying animal. What about human life? Do we all have the same amount of free will? Or some maybe have more, or some are having maybe less. How would you say and answer that one?
I think it's different for different persons, depending on their situation, how they are born, what kind of situations they have, how much struggle they have, or how much luxuries they have, and what is their need. So based on the karma, let's say, kind of it depends how much.
Someone who is spiritually advanced, does he have more free will from those who are in maybe lower mode of nature?
Yes.
I guess so.
Yes, very much. But spirituality ultimately gives freedom. And love without freedom cannot exist. So those who are liberated, who are not under the impulses of senses, they have complete freedom. And they direct that freedom towards a particular way. And they go in the right direction, towards absolute truth, towards service. And those of us who are more conditioned by the material nature, meaning the laws of nature, three gunas, then we are having more problem to control, to direct, to offer, and to have some freedom given expression. So whole idea of responsibility and free will is that through the practice of certain sadhana, devotional practice, activities, whole idea is that we are looking to get more freedom. And with that freedom and ability to decide what we are going to do and how, we are looking towards offering that to Krishna. And that's kind of natural consequence. And of course, now we can see on one side we have that responsibility and we are getting knowledge and we are getting freedom. But in the same time, we can also see, despite having that freedom, especially in a human form of life, like you are saying, we are always and constantly blaming others, that others in general, that's the present situation in the world. Everyone is blaming others, you are responsible, it's your fault, And very hardly we can accept that responsibility. Say, okay, I'm responsible. And what does it mean? Means that we individually are not able to gain that freedom of senses and conditions we are having. And that's the reason why we are so disturbed by so many things outside of us which are happening, and then it creates certain disturbances. So whole idea is that once, and we can see example in Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, that's every story in Srimad Bhagavatam, even in Bhagavad Gita, every character you take, you can see how they exhibit their own responsibility and results, that freedom, and how they deal with that. For instance, even if they make a mistake, we can see just beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj. What he did, he took the snake and as a king, Parikshit Maharaj was walking around, he saw one gentleman, Sadhu, who was meditating, and Parikshit as a king, he was thinking, well, he's not offering me respect. So he was offended, and he took the snake around the neck. Then Shringi, son of that Sadhu, came and cursed Parikshit Maharaj. But that's interesting enough. At that moment, Parikshit Maharaj could say, oh, how dare you to... He made a mistake expecting to be glorified and respected. But immediately, he took response. He said, oh, I made a mistake. And then, even if that was a mistake, being humble as he was, he admitted, and then all that turbulence and deficiency of his behavior came back to Srimad Bhagavatam. Without that, without accepting his own mistake and honestly trying to rectify, we wouldn't be able to get Srimad Bhagavatam in a form we are having now. So that's his position. But what about other? Duryodhana. Duryodhana is one who is on the opposite side, on Kuru's side. And Duryodhana, when Vidura and others accused him, Duryodhana, we should kill you at the moment you are born because it was so inauspicious. Duryodhana said, it's not my responsibility. My character is given by the providence. That's what he said. It's a providence. It's not me. So why do you have to blame me? I am what I am because someone else created me, and in a way, I'm all that I am. So what's the issue? Don't look at me, it's not me. So that's interesting how, so we can also see in our life how we can, or I was mentioning Bible at the beginning, it's silly, but I immediately, regarding responsibility, and that's very symbolic in the Bible, there is Adam and Eve, and the apple tree. And then when God came and asked, who ate the apple? Who apple was supposed to be untouched. And they said, it's not my responsibility. No one was able to admit that they didn't. No one is saying it's me. Just because they are not, or at least in particular case, neither Adam neither Eve took responsibility for particular action or eating the apple. So like that, so we can see that that question of responsibility is so present everywhere. And what initially I was saying, the way how do we handle that freedom and responsibility, that's the extent we are having our own freedom and settlement and peace in life. If individual doesn't understand, and we always complain about society, about others, and we don't look in our own self. So meaning that we are not having that freedom, and we are not taking own responsibility. But what we do, pointing out to others. So we are, by complaining, lamenting, protesting, in fact we are admitting, I don't have, and I'm not responsible, I don't have freedom, others are deciding for me. But the whole idea is to understand that we have freedom. We have our own responsibility in the whole story, and we have to use it in a proper way. That means if we properly utilize our freedom and we take the responsibility, then we can be settled and peaceful even in this conditioned world we are living. So it's something which gives us freedom. Of course, there are two ways how can we have attitude towards responsibility. One way, one way can be that we think that we are responsible for everything. Whatever happens, we are responsible. It's quite easy way to get mentally sick very quickly. Another way is living on, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me, I'm nowhere. But of course, we have particular set of duties, so it needs to be balanced. It needs to be balanced. We know what we can do, what we can impact, and mostly what we can impact is through our own senses and our own personality. How do we interact with others? How do we deal with ourselves? How do we engage our senses in Krishna's service, sadhana bhakti? We have particular freedom in doing that. We don't have Haribol, bonjour et bienvenue, Haribol. We cannot act and for others, but we can also have particular share in their lives, especially if we are having family members, youngsters, so we are responsible for them, but ultimately everyone has to go on its own, and everyone is going to take the fruits of our own activity. That's the reason why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is going to say that everyone is forced to act. Nahi kashit kshanam api jatu tishtati akarma kri. No one is able to escape not to act. So everyone is getting results of our own activity. That's for sure. So we cannot, but in the same time we have to have knowledge that whatever we are doing, we are responsibility and we have particular drive and possibility to change our own life. So that's ultimately question about freedom. If you always lament, no, where is freedom, where is responsibility? No, it's because we don't understand. It's up to us. We have it. We have it. But if we don't recognize that, then we are losing it. If we think that someone else is in charge of our life. No one placed us in this body in addition to our own desires and activities. So that's reality. We shouldn't, that's the greatest freedom we are having. We are masters of our own destiny, because that moves us through the universe and universes, life after life after life. It's up to us. So whole idea is understand, okay, I have one small piece of universe to change or possibly impact, and that's my own personality. I am small tiny jiva who is presiding particular body for a particular lifetime. Let me use that in the best way. So that's the whole idea of responsibility. And when we are responsible, then we have understanding and we can act in a particularly better way, which is more beneficial, not only for us, but also for others. That's pretty much about that topic of responsibility. And that's the reason why, ultimately, it's not by coincidence that Krishna is closing Bhagavad Gita, as I was mentioning that verse in the beginning. And here we are. I can't find the verse. I cannot find the verse which I was looking for. I was thinking it's the last or the one before the last, but it's not. I'm happy to hear your comments and questions. Do you feel responsible? No! No! And usually they say, if there are no questions, that means that everyone knows everything, or no one got anything. But you are smart, so I'm sure you know it. You got it. Well, ultimately, that question of responsibility, it's so profound, it's so all-pervading, that we can just analyze our life through prisma of responsibility. And that's something what Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of Eastern Society, once he was with Narayana Vishwakarma, one of his disciples, who unfortunately, he passed away in January this year. Narayana Vishwakarma, amazing Vaishnava. He spoke with Srila Prabhupada in New Vrindavan, one of the first interactions they have one-to-one alone. And then, it was such a funny story. How many of you heard Narayana Vishwakarma Prabhu speaking? That you must look at the Prabhupada memories on YouTube, you can find, he has such a powerful voice. And that devotee was with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was, imagine, he was a young boy, Prabhupada is very old gentleman, 75, 76 at that time. And Prabhupada is showing him a table, do you see this ant? Ant. And Narayana, the Prabhu, he said, he didn't see the ant, but Prabhupada is there. So, he said, I cannot say no to Prabhupada, then I will be fool. But if I say yes, that I see some small ant on the table, it's also not fair because I will lie, because I don't see. And, and he said, like yes and no together. And then ultimately Prabhupada continued to speak, and Prabhupada was, in fact, then Narayana realized it's virtual, it's imaginative end. There was no end, but Prabhupada told him this is connected with the responsibility. Prabhupada said, whatever we are doing in life, whoever we interact with, we should think, what's my duty? What's my responsibility? And how should I act? Whatever is going on, that's our one. What's my duty now? How should I act? That way we can be always introspective and very alert in a way how to proceed. So that's about Narayana Prabhu and responsibility or duty. But ultimately, responsibility is very connected with that fundamental principle in Hinduism in general, but also in Bhagavad Gita, is question of dharma. That's something which is hunting everyone throughout every scripture, especially in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. What's to be done, and how is to be done? That's the ultimate question which is always there. So that's the same very question you can find in every other tradition. Everyone is answering that differently. But maybe someone very close to the Gaudiya understanding is Socrates, the father of Greek philosophy, Aristotle, Plato, everyone was learning from him. He was saying, and he was teaching, which is very similar. He said, we are responsible for our own activity, and we are responsible for our own character. That's something what we are responsible. So that's his teaching. And then, of course, he was the one who also said, soul you cannot catch. So he was able to even swallow the poison because he was having particular understanding and realization. So that's something. But there are other traditions. Some of them are going to kind of completely take away responsibility of the soul of individual. You don't have responsibility. It's just kind of orchestrated by some other sources. Yes, many things are happening in life because it's predestined and we are not having impact. But quite a number of things, if we realize, we are the creator of our own destiny. So that freedom we should cherish and utilize in a proper way. That's the way how we get empowerment and how do we learn how to act properly. That's something what everyone is looking for, that freedom. Freedom to act and being responsible for that. And of course, accountability is something which comes along with that. Is it okay? Was it okay for you? Was not too quick? Rosalind? Yeah? No, what's her name? Sorry. Was it okay for you? Was it too complicated or too quick or?
No, it's no, it was okay. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now is 2:44. What we can do, usually what we do, we sing some, we have some Kirtan, right? For 15-20 minutes. Until which hour? Then, yeah, after the prasad, yeah. We will sing for 20 minutes, something like that, or for how long we are going to do this?
Yes.
Yeah, because now it has to be offering. Okay, if you don't have a question, I think that's it for it. You're okay? You have a question? You? Yeah, I cannot recall your name.
You?
Z. Z.
If we are all Shudras, what is our responsibility?
Oh, if we are all Shudras, what's our Shudras? How many of you heard for Shudras? Workers, meaning those who are not having so much freedom. What's the responsibility? We just work and that's how. Well, ultimately, we were speaking, we touched upon that a little bit. We should. Shudra means that we don't have knowledge. That means Shudra, and that we are driven by the senses. Whatever, as Prabhu was saying, whatever we are given, we are going to react. There is no any kind of reasoning, justification, analysis, or whatever. It's just kind of very impulsive and instinctive acting. But ultimately, the whole idea is that we should get education, we should be learned, we should know what needs to be done and what's not to be done, and that way we can, and we should get more responsibility and understand that we have some freedom. Usually they say ignorance is bliss. I don't know anything and I'm just acting in a way I'm acting, but as we know, without knowledge, acting is going to give, it's going to be misery at the beginning and at the end. So what we are destined and what we should aim to is always to be educated, to get education, what needs to be done, how to be done, what's the result of particular activity, and we can learn it. We can learn it by studying, because ultimately all the stories, for instance, that's interesting, why Srimad Bhagavatam is complete in stories, that we can learn from others and not being offended. If it's going to be direct communication, we will think, why is that preached to me? But when we read about others, we can kind of grasp more the meaning, and then hopefully we will be able to learn something and not to do kind of same mistake. So being in ignorance or being Shudra or being unqualified, it's not an excuse. It shouldn't be an excuse, yeah. Well, even if we are, ignorance is bliss, but we should also move it ahead. We should try to evolve in lifetime, get mature, get responsible, and uplift our perspective and our consciousness. That would be the natural thing. If we would be the same fool as a kind of acting all our life in the same way, that would be quite tragic. We should, and that's so much scope to learn and get education. Even from anything, then from our own mistakes. Then we can, but that way we prosper, and others will prosper also. Thank you. So we are Shudra is not an excuse. Not knowing anything is not an excuse. That's the reason why school is existing, and I guess that's the reason why we are having our life. We have to go through particular experience and get education, and then we move it ahead. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, madam. So, what's your name?
Kathleen,
Kathleen.
I like the way you said we should cherish our responsibility, because generally it's more difficult. So, can you say something
it is ultimately, I'm sure you have enough age to recognize so many times in life, either we or others are able to kind of not acting in a way they could because there is some fear there. Kind of, I will kind of have this simplified way of living, this work is fine, and we don't confront ourselves and we don't take more responsibility. Maybe we have the capacity, but somehow because there is some fear, we are living constrained and restricted, and we don't push ourselves to move ahead, to take more responsibility, ultimately more freedom, and we can do that. And there is something which is kind of self-destructive mechanism in number of us because of that fear, and we don't just want to be exposed. We are kind of keeping life on a certain reserve instead of moving ahead full-fledged. So ultimately, that's something which we can, most of people are like that, and they can also hide themselves behind false humility. That's another thing which is very connected with the responsibility and freedom. No, it's okay. Silently dying throughout the decade. And they just don't move themselves, or they could. So that's my experience with a number of my friends, or some of my friends. They would just kind of, okay, we are kind of, but no, it's not. You're not flourishing, you're not giving yourself completely, or you could. And that way you are missing the chance. You're cheating your own self. You shouldn't be like that. You should be responsible, and it is. Being responsible, it is something which kind of settles the accounts with our own personality. You know, if we evaluate ourselves, where I am, where do I aim to go, why I'm not going there, why do I procrastinate in my whatever, then it's very confronting. But in the same time, we can understand, I'm responsible. It's not your fault. It's my fault. And if I'm having some moderation in life, something doesn't work. Why is it so? I'm responsible. Why that bothers to me? Why that bothers me? Can you change it? How you change it? Face it. That's the way how it is. But we can, a natural tendency, many of us, is just to put things under the carpet, and that's the worst, that's the killer scenario. It just waits for you. Either in a working environment, family issues, here and there. It's always good, and it's very brave to be responsible and okay, there is something going on, something is maybe not ideally settled, I feel it in this way, can we discuss and see where we stand? Now I'm speaking to you like I mastered that. I'm speaking that to myself. and then it's rewarding because it's uplifting. Because then you just kind of face some of your own anarthas, unwanted things, and I said, okay, do we need to be like that? Do we need to keep such an unbalanced accounts and relationship, aspiration, and we don't address it, and life is going on too quickly. So let us be responsible, yeah? That's freedom. Easy to say, much more difficult to execute, but very important. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would say that's it for now. Our company behind, you are fine? Amir?
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes it is, you have to, it's true that you have to cherish what you suppose our work and responsibility, but sometimes we are not fit for such a responsibility. Our nature is not aligned to such a work, And then, because it is from the very beginning, there's no guidance proper guidance from society, Like some countries, they want to have doctors, engineers, and lawyers.
India is in doctors and engineers number one. Everyone.
So let's say, Keshav Maharaj was saying that, in the movement there in UK, there was a lawyer who was earning his life very nicely, but he hated the job. He hated the job, but he was good at it. And then he started to shift, you know. He started to take coaching classes. And then he was doing 4 days lawyer, 1 day coaching class, and then 2 days coaching classes. He was giving coaching classes, and 3 days lawyer, and then till he shifted from lawyer to being a coach. So sometimes we find ourselves to be doing an activity where we are not supposed to be doing that according to our nature from the very beginning, because we didn't have the system, the society which guided us to say, okay, parents pressure, you become lawyer, you become doctor, but you're supposed to become an artist, you know. So sometimes you're in a responsibility that you're not fit for that, and it's difficult to cherish that, because in the Vedic term it's called the Varnashram system. It's not there. The Varnashram system is not there. So it's we have to see all these things, to all these factors to.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually Gopal. Some of us didn't experience that so much, but as actually Gopal was saying, indeed, in some of countries, definitely in India, parents are able to push their kids in a particular education, right? And sometimes it's not nature of a child to be a doctor or engineer, but just pushing it better. Indeed, that can be challenge. That can be challenge, especially as you were bringing that extreme, that person is completely dissatisfied. Well, ultimately, what was the ultimate solution? Whatever we do in life, whatever we do, and maybe that person was not a devotee, once they realize that everything can be yoga, everything can be devoted to Krishna or given to Krishna to work, so that it becomes pleasant and there is some connection in that. That's one way how to see that. But we should, regarding our daily activities, we should be able to offer and do things which you like. Because naturally, things you like to do, you will also become an expert. Why? Because you just have natural tendency to do that. So that's we kind of. But at the same time, Bhagavad Gita will say, better perform your own duty, even imperfectly, than perform others' duty. Yeah. So on that level, it's important to realize and to help. And we have, many of us had that very same question: what's my nature? But I just don't have so much experience in that field to speak. But I know, at least for us who are born in the Western countries, we have so much freedom to choose study we want, or few studies we want. So that was my case. But I know what you are speaking, and it is maybe lucrative business later, but you are dry in that. But it's nice to also hear the story that sounds like that, can find a change of the career. But ultimately, the whole idea for us as a spiritual is to offer everything to Krishna. Whatever we do, find a way how to do it Krishna. And I have one friend, she's a dentist. She says, every day I come to the work, I offer that Krishna, I'm going to do this work. Please accept it. This is my yagya, and this is my offering. And as Bhagavad Gita is saying, if you cannot think about me, do this particular practice. If you cannot do that practice, then offer your work. If you cannot, and there is always possibility for all of us to do some certain spiritual activity, where no matter where we are. Idea would be that whatever we do it for Krishna. I found myself interesting enough, and I can tell you that's the glory of my spiritual master. Many years ago, 20 years ago, when I graduated from the college, I wanted to work in a company. It was in Croatia. I graduated IT. You're also IT man, right? No, you're engineering now. And I wanted to kind of have a freedom, have some money, but not too much responsibility. That was my motto. Not too much responsibility. Middle management, money is there, and kind of I can kind of have lots of space in the between. But Sachinandana Swami, he told me like that. He said, even greatest fool can be materially successful. end of quotation. Why don't you go to Radhadesh? Maharaj told him. And it was so bitter at the beginning, very difficult. I was just graduating IT sector, and IT, they have good salaries, lots of freedom. You know, IT is IT ultimately. Even now, you can unlock every door. And I came to Radhadesh to study bachelor in theology. Okay, new chapter, Vaishnava theology. It was wonderful. And it was very, 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 very difficult because just, you know, after one college you go to another college from the beginning, bachelor, 3 years. But you know, ultimately, no matter what's going on, if you give yourself, then Krishna helps you down the road, and some miracles are happening, you know. So little bit on your side, pushed to in unknown. And Maharaj, Sachinandana Maharaj told me, there are some creatures at the bottom of the rivers. They keep the ground so strong, and they never won't let them go. They want to always live at the bottom of the river. So you just have to let yourself, and the stream of water will take you. And that can happen. So that ultimately we just surrender to something else. And then down the road, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, things become very different. I wanted to say that my story is that based on that, now I'm able to do things I like, and whatever we do it for Krishna, because we run the school. And so that's, and you've been to us, we said, so that's wonderful. But in the sense it was so difficult. It's just extremely difficult 15, 17 years ago. But in the same time, life is short and so many things happen in that short span of time. So we can always be, no matter where we are, Krishna devotee.
One question, it's a bit out of the
Everything is connected. Everything is connected.
Because you stated you study theology
Here, in
in
Belgium and in Croatia.
in many some lectures, especially by Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he said that this is the most advanced theology. It can be proven historically, linguistically, and in all ways this is the oldest and most advanced theology. I wanted to know, just briefly, how we can support this point, you know, by like some arguments, like, do you know any of which comes to your mind that
Yes.
you've studied? And
Yes.
I can say, okay, this is the most advanced theology, and I'm studying this, you know.
I can tell you.
It's more advanced than all the other theologies.
Yes, sir. It's possible. How is it possible? It's possible just if we have some knowledge. You can see that from a few angles. But one is very simple. You can see that other practitioners are advanced. And if you don't see that, Gaudias, others, they're advanced, so maybe your understanding is not proper. So this is very sophisticated philosophy, and to see how advanced that philosophy is, you should put it individually in practice. And if you see, I'm practicing Gaudiya Vaishnava, and something is missing there, so you can understand, okay, there is some shortage and responsibility on my side. Why is it so? Bhakti Tirtha Swami, that's one Vaishnava, he passed away 20 years ago. He was waking up 3 in the morning, 32, 38, 42 rounds he chanted every day, eating only once, and being energetic, relaxing. So he was embodiment of philosophy. How that philosophy placed in the practice is something very extraordinary. Not only that he was able to sleep so less, but because he was able to give so much. And he touched so many lives. And then to the extent that he was not even shy to say, with 52, let me carry the sins of this world. If I need to die, let me die. And he left very young. So from that point of view, yes, with small humility we can understand that philosophy is amazing, that we are maybe not so amazing, or we are not applying the philosophy, and there is such a scope for us to progress. And that humility brings exactly what it is. Whoever is advanced, whoever is having certain knowledge, realization is very humble. That's the first symptom of realization of knowledge, humility. We don't think, yes, I got it, I am the one. I have the truth in my pocket. No, patu tu, not at all. We are having, it's our responsibility and we can understand it. I'm not able to apply. So it's my shortage, my shortcoming, not no one else. And that's great. That's again, responsibility. We see, it's just up to me. And we can see others, and when we see others and they are so advanced. That means, okay, that's a good, we have good filter in our eyes. If we see ourselves, I'm so advanced, and I'm so powerful, I'm so and others are maybe not so. So obviously there is something is wrong on our side. Same thing you can see in a Shastra. We had funny examples of Duryodhana who was trying to find who is superior to him. He couldn't find anyone. So that's it. So ultimately, yes, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj was absolutely true, but we will never try to show others how our philosophy is. No. We should live and we should example of that philosophy. Then you don't need to say anything. They will see. So, but ultimately, obviously, Maharaj was in particular context saying that.
In terms of argumentation, it's not worth because sometimes they will come and you will be challenged, and in terms of this philosophy is more advanced, more this less theology, it's not worth discussing with such a person. I just wanted to know.
Our philosophy, Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, our doctrine, Achintya, Beda, Abeda, Tattva, is superior and is not superior. It's one and different. It's yes and no. So it goes in so many shapes and forms. So that on that level, it's not to be kind of placed with a certain placeholder. That's it. No, it's Gaudiya Siddhanta is very unique and very kind of fluent. It's not squarey, number one, and you're not, no. Ultimately, all those considerations are falling apart. And ultimately, what we can understand and what's given by the Shastra and by the many Vaishnavas, how do you understand to which extent particular philosophy is working or not? Try and see what's going on. Meaning, you cannot understand how honey is sweet if you are licking the jar. You just have to open the lid and get the honey. So ultimately, Gaudiya Siddhanta and Gaudiya philosophy is sublime. But at the same time, to understand it and to live it, you have to also purify yourself and go on that level. As you know, in Srimad Bhagavatam, that's very important. You can be in the mode of ignorance. You can be ignorant and you can be practicing devotee. You know that. You can be in passion. But you can be also uttam on the highest platform. So there are huge varieties. There is nothing in Gaudiya, in any philosophy, nothing is 1 or 0. There are so many colors in between. So many colors in between. So that always teaches us humility. You just have to be humble. If you're not humble, you understand, okay, I'm missing something and shame on me, but that's my reality. So let me dig it again and see what I do wrong. But thank you very much, actually, Prabhu, for your comment and question. Good to see our two latecomers, Shakti and Alex. We were speaking about responsibility. And
sorry to be late.
Don't worry.
Responsibility?
Responsibility, exactement. That was the topic we last time spoke about that, and kind of today we continue. We didn't conclude anything in addition that we are responsible. It was last 40 minutes, or even a bit more. But we are now over. We will sing now, one Kirtan, and I heard that Shakshi Gopal Prabhu is a good singer, right? No?
No, I'm not a Kirtan lead.
You're not. Who will sing? Okay. I'm the best. That's the essence of the lecture. I am the best, and I have to prove it. That's the responsibility. Thank you very much. Always good to be in Brussels, especially when it's beautiful sunny day. It's beautiful weather, so we can appreciate. Yeah, we can always appreciate Krishna, but when it's sun, then maybe even more. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, responsibility ki jai. Yes.
In Mauritius, I was never appreciating weather because it's always fine weather. But I came here, wow, what a weather. Now you value it more because.
So, if I can understand you, now you are more responsible regarding your remarks about the weather. All right, we will sing a little bit Hare Krishna. Now it's 10 past 3, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And then we'll be offering, and after offering we have prasadam, and after prasadam we have it all. Okay, great. We can sing always. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namaho Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prestaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Riti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prestaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Riti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshakarine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshakarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shila Sadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shila Sadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Jai Gauranga Jai, Jai Gauranga, Jai Gauranga Jai, Jai Gauranga Jai, Jai Gauranga,
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 Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari,
Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari,
Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari,
Jai Sachinandana